Everybody. Okay.
Okay. Have you ever wondered how the nuclear bomb was ever created? The Manhattan Project was the project that first started the nuclear bomb. Einstein wrote a letter to Franklin Roosevelt in 1939 to tell him that Russia, or German, had taken over Czechoslovakian mines and stopped the sale of uranium. He said to Roosevelt that, "I understand that Germany has actually stopped the sale of uranium from the Czechoslovakian mines, which she has taken over, that she should have taken such early action taken such early action might be perhaps understood on the ground that the son of the Empire, German Undersecretary of State von Weizsäcker, is attached to the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute of Berlin, and some of the American work on uranium is now being repeated. This means that the German scientists under Hitler's command is trying to reproduce fission to make a nuclear bomb." Einstein's hope to send this letter was to hope that Roosevelt would start research on nuclear fission. Okay, so after he sent that, Roosevelt then considered, and it took him several years to consider the fact that they were making nuclear bombs. So he went ahead and did it, and he hired a lieutenant commander of the military named Leslie Groves, who then hired Robert J. Oppenheimer, which is an American-born physicist at the University of Berkeley, to head the research of the Manhattan Project. There were 3 major sites for the Manhattan Project: Hanford, Washington; Oak Ridge, Tennessee; and Los Alamos, New Mexico. Hanford, Washington was one of the plants where they turned uranium into plutonium. And so it was built in September of 1942 by the DuPont Company, and the reactor was modified by graphite and was cooled by water, and the design was originally created by a physicist on the Manhattan Project team called Enrico Fermi. In Oak Ridge, Tennessee is another plant. It had 3 reactors, the K-25, the S-50, and the Y-12. It split the uranium and also turned it into plutonium. Each plant was built to create different separating different uranium isotopes. The small town made it easy for the government to keep it secret. Los Alamos is where they built and tested the first nuclear bomb, called the Gadget. Los Alamos was also called Project Y-12. It was completely top secret, and their mailing address was in Santa Fe. The first test that they did after completing building the Gadget was the 800-ton test. That's where they took 800 tons of dynamite and laced it with thin glass tubes filled with fission nuclear product to measure the blast radius of what the nuclear bomb would be. It was only a few yards from the Trinity test site, which I will explain next. The Trinity test was the second and final test of the Manhattan Project to guarantee that the nuclear bomb worked. They built a 100-foot tower in the middle of the Jornada de Muerto desert in New Mexico, and they basically dropped it from that tower. The scientists had to lay down in a sealed bunker with their heads facing away from the blast, using special goggles to shield their eyes from the blast. The explosion happened at 5:30 in the morning in the New Mountain War time, and all these scientists were actually amazed that the bomb actually worked, and most of the civilians that they questioned after the attack swore that the sun rise for a second time. The test site, after about a month, was burned. The soil was burned, and it formed a glass over the soil called trinitite, and it is highly radioactive. The test proved that fission could make a bomb explode. They were ready to detonate and drop. So basically, Truman said that if you do not unconditionally surrender to the Japanese, that we will use any force necessary to make you do so. So they refused to surrender, so they dropped the first bomb. The little boy, which was the first bomb they dropped, had a uranium core. It was named the little boy because it represented a thin man. The little boy was dropped on Hiroshima on August 9th, 1945. There was an estimated of 90,000 to 160,000 people that died both within the blast and after the blast due to the side effects of radiation. The Japanese were devastated, but they still did not surrender. So Truman decided to drop the second bomb, which was nicknamed the Fat Man, on Nagasaki. Nagasaki was not the true target. The true target was a small city named Kokura. The estimated deaths were 60,000 to 80,000 killed within the initial blast, and then more than half of the people died after that from radiation sickness. But even after the bombs dropped, the people still felt side effects. They had radiation sickness, deep burns, disfiguring scars, vomiting, diarrhea, all the good stuff. So the Japanese surrendered. It took many years for the radiation to go down so they could re-inhabit even nearby areas. Robert J. Oppenheimer, after the Trinity test, said that the radiance of the thousand suns were to burst and once into the sky, that would be like the splendor of the mighty one. I have become death, the shatterer of worlds.